Financial with certified financial planner Christopher Calandra is an innovative, comprehensive, informative, and cutting-edge podcast that discusses financial topics ranging from personal finance, economics, politics, and personal growth. Simply Financial will cover intriguing and thought-provoking questions so that the listener can simply increase their financial IQ.
Welcome to episode 4 of the Simply Financial podcast. I'm your host, Christopher Calandra, and I appreciate you joining me for today's episode. The title of today's podcast is your investment strategy on track? First off, you should have an investment strategy. You should know what your goals are, and you should develop and have a plan to obtain those goals. Part of the plan should also be a way to consistently and regularly monitor your plan to make sure that you are making progress towards your goals. Part of the monitoring also should include a way that you could update your goals, because life does happen and sometimes your goals change. You also need to monitor the plan so that if it needs to be changed because something in the plan isn't working or something has changed, that you could adjust on the fly. I think when thinking about the investment strategy being on track, there are 3 focuses I wanted to talk about. Number 1 is goal attainment. Number 2 is risk management. Number 3 is consistently making smart financial decisions. So number 1, goal attainment. Focus on what your goals are, how you're going to achieve those goals, and make sure that they're goals that are important to you. I urge you to stay away from or try and push back against all the noise that's out there. What your neighbor is doing, what you might read on the internet, what somebody at work might be doing, and focus on the attainment of your personal goals, not being hyper-focused on the market is returning X or anything else that's outside of you getting to your goals and obtaining what you want to get out of your financial life. Secondly is risk management. What I found over my 25 years of being a financial advisor for individuals, families, and small businesses is that reducing risk, analyzing risk, being aware of risk is really something that most people don't pay enough attention to. To give you an example, and I often use this storyline with clients when meeting with them, if I am talking about a particular investment to a client and I say I have investment X that is up 10% and I have investment Y that's also up 10%, most people, most of the time, would say, well, I'll take either one because both delivered a 10% rate of return. But the better answer is you want to select the one that took less risk on its way to getting the 10% rate of return. You want to take a reasonable amount of risk to carry out your goals and objectives, and you want to be aware of what you're comfortable with and what you're not comfortable with. So risk management is the second focus when keeping track of whether your investment strategy is on the right track. The third focus is to make consistently good financial decisions. There is not usually a get-rich-quick scheme that works. So if you could string together month after month, quarter after quarter, year after year, good, solid, smart financial decisions, you are well on your way to achieving your goals and accomplishing the building of a very good nest egg and perhaps even be wealthy. When you work with a financial advisor, a good financial advisor, or a good advisory firm, they can help. We here at Elliott Wealth Management can help by offering education, advice, and support to increase the chances that you make good financial decisions and do that consistently. An advisor can help make your financial journey easier. Our goal at Elliott Wealth Management Services is to understand the needs of our clients and then work with them to create a plan to address those needs and address their goals and help them get there. We continually monitor the plan that we develop in conjunction with our clients. We monitor the portfolio and the investments that are part of that plan, and we regularly review the status with our clients. We want to regularly review things with our clients so that we can share with them what's happening in their plan, what's working, might not be working, what changes might need to be made, what our outlook is on the economy and the markets and so on. But these regular reviews are also an opportunity for the clients to check in with us and fill us in on changes in their perspective, maybe important life changes that have occurred on their end. They might have changed their goals or gone through a significant life change. So we found that this regularly checking in with us, checking in with them, they filling us in with their current thoughts and concerns and aspirations lead to better investment results, better financial planning, because we're communicating with one another. So the three focuses we talked about are goal attainment, focus on your personal goals and getting there, and try and avoid getting bogged down with all the other, I call, noise that is out there in today's complicated marketplace. Number two is risk management. Be aware of the risk you want to take, be aware of the risk you are taking, and be smart about that. And the third thing is to consistently make smart financial decisions. One final thought on making smart financial decisions consistently is I realize that the vast majority of folks that are listening are not financial experts. And many of you do not enjoy reading annual reports or prospectus or doing research or even speaking with your financial advisor. But you do need to invest some time, some energy in coming up with a system, a way, so that you have enough information, enough education, enough help around you so that you could avoid making big mistakes. And instead of making mistakes, make good, consistent, smart financial decisions. So moving along, what do you do to implement an investment strategy, and what do you need to monitor to make sure that the investment strategy remains on track? To begin with, you want to think about what type of account you ought to have given the relative goal and objective that you're trying to accomplish. So a basic example is there's something called a college 529 plan, and we won't go into the details of what that is, but it's a specific investment savings type account that's primarily geared towards saving for college education expenses. When thinking about using the right type of an account, it's typically not going to make sense to use a college 529 plan if your goal is to save money to buy a home. You're just using the wrong tool for the right job. You have a job to do, and if you look at the investments like tools, if you look at accounts like tools, you want to try and match things up so that you're using the right tool for the right job. And if you could use the right tool for the right job, the chances of having success are much greater than if you use the wrong tool for the wrong job. Another example is you probably shouldn't use the same account, the same vehicle, or the same planning technique if you're saving for a home versus for saving for a retirement, because many times saving for a home might be measured in months or maybe a few years, where oftentimes a retirement plan might be decades, even several decades down the line. So you want to use the right type of an account, so you're using the right tool for the right job. You also, as part of implementing an investment plan and making sure that you're monitoring it to make sure it stays on track, is to look at the risk levels, to continually look at how much risk you're taking, if it's appropriate, if you're comfortable with it, if that risk is working in your favor and paying off. That's what you want to look at when monitoring your investment strategy to see if it's on track. The next thing I would suggest we look at is reviewing your asset allocation. There are lots of ways to deploy savings, and investments. You could have money in the bank. You could invest in stocks, bonds, gold, and other precious metals like silver, platinum, and so on. You can invest in real estate, alternative investments such as managed futures, currencies, Bitcoin. You could invest in small businesses. The list goes on and on and on. But when you're developing an investment strategy and when you're monitoring that investment strategy, you want to review your asset allocation. What do you have contained within your plan? What are you using? What are you excluding? What are you emphasizing? What might you want to add to the asset allocation mix? And an asset allocation mix is going to vary from person to person, depending on their risk, their age, their goals, their financial wherewithal, their experience and education. But you want to review your asset allocation so that you are confident that you're diversified, that you've spread your risk out appropriately, and that you have enough strategies, enough types of wealth building vehicles are being used within your overall plan. So review your asset allocation. The next thing I would move on to is talking about budgeting. People have different views on budgeting. I have many clients that are very successful, and they have very strict budgets, and they are very careful to identify all aspects of their budget, and they monitor it, and they abide by it pretty closely. I personally, on the other hand, in my own household, don't budget that exactly. We don't have a particular amount of money for, say, recreation or a particular food budget for a given week or month. What we do instead in my house, and this is what I talk to clients about in terms of my philosophy about budgeting, and there are different ways you could approach this, but my favorite is if, for example, the goals are save for retirement, save for college, reduce debt, invest in the small business that we own. If we're accomplishing those major goals, these macro goals, and we're consistently making progress on those important initiatives, then I'm not going to worry that much about the small stuff and worry about how much was spent on entertainment this month or whether we went over a grocery budget item. We're not going to sweat the small stuff. That's worked very well for me. Again, I've seen clients that do it in a more detailed fashion, but I think the moral of the story from my perspective is you do want to have some idea of how much money you're bringing in and how much money is going out. To have an awareness of your income relative to your savings, relative to your investing, relative to your spending. You want to have some type of an awareness. If you have no clue, I have found it's going to be very hard to be successful. It'll be hard to manage debt wisely. It'll be difficult to find money to put towards saving, investing, and other wealth building activities. So you want to have some way to budget, but it's an open definition on exactly what budgeting is. The next thing is forecasting. You want to have some sense in thinking about your goals and what you're doing to achieve those goals to forecast what that will look like down the line, maybe in 3 years, 5 years, 20 years, 40 years. You could go into great detail forecasting what a retirement account might look like if you invest X number of dollars for the next 30 years at an assumed interest rate. And in that example, you don't know exactly what's going to happen. 30 years is a long time, but it is a good idea to work with your financial advisor. We have lots of calculators at www.elliottwealth.com where you could forecast out, and I think that's a good tool. So you want to have some idea, forecasting-wise, what your money will amount to over time as you make progress towards your goal. So you want to do some forecasting. The last thing that I would say about implementing a plan and monitoring a plan to see that your investment strategy is on track